Welcome back to another episode of Lawyer Up into the Right. We've been off for a couple weeks now. I was on vacation. Cesar got the family thing going on. It's good to be back. Today, we're going to be talking about something that's been on my mind for a while, and that is AdWords. So many law firms struggle to get their Google AdWords, their pay-per-click to convert, especially properly, because of how expensive it is, especially if you're in the crim defense, family law, personal injury space. We're talking about a couple $100s per click. So if your campaigns are not optimized, it's just too expensive. You're going to be burning through budget, and you're probably going to end up in the situation that you're in now, which is what I hear all the time when I talk to law firms, which is, yeah, we've done pay-per-click, but it didn't work. It was too expensive. So we want to do SEO, or we want to do something else. Pay-per-click ads are the fastest, the most effective way for law firms to get more cases, period. End of story, full stop. However, they are more expensive. So Cesar, today, I'm going to present to you 5 biggest things for law firms to get their AdWords campaigns dialed in and profitable. Are you ready?
Let's do it. We're talking about money today. So
Money. It's all that matters. Well, of course not, but it's all that matters. Okay, so number 1, what's the movie with Will Ferrell, Ricky Bobby? What is it? Talladega Nights. If you're not first, you're last. So when it comes to ad positioning, right? If you search for personal injury attorney Miami, DUI attorney Fort Lauderdale, etc., the ads show up in positions. There's 1, 2, and 3 for local service ads, and then like 1 through 4 for traditional pay-per-click ads. If you are not in the first place spot, you are going to burn through a ton of your budget. Why? Because inherently, you're just going to get cascaded down, kicked down bad leads that another law firm won qualified. So look at it this way. If you're in position 2 or position 3 for any one of those searches, I'm searching, I call the first one and they're like, yeah, no, that we don't have any interest in that case. We're not going to win it. So what do? You go down and you call the next one. So if you're in position 2, inherently, you're just going to get kicked down leads that were unqualified from another law firm. Now, you might get a couple, but they're probably going to be pretty crappy leads because whoever's first is going to get cherry pick and just take the best leads. So if you're not showing up first, then you are going to burn through a ton of budget. And this is one of those silent killers because, your agency probably isn't paying attention to this. They're probably just setting up your ads, traditional bidding strategy. You're showing up where you show up. Maybe you get some phone calls. They're probably tire kickers or unqualified. So how do we fix this? This is probably something that might scare you a little bit, but this is what you need to do. What you need to do is you need to turn up your bids all the way to the max, right? $500, $1,000. You need to be outbidding the person below you. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to pay that much for that click or for that phone call. What you need to show to Google is that you're willing to, right? So if we're talking with local service ads, it's a max budget set. So if you only want to spend $1,000 a month, turn it up. $15,000, $20,000. Because again, what it's going to do is it's going to push you to the front of the line. It's going to jump all those people. And then if you don't want to spend more than $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is, you can cut your ads off. You can taper them down. But again, if you're not getting that first place ad, you're going to waste money no matter what. So you've got to be willing to spend. You've got to be willing to show Google that you're willing to spend that much. Does that make sense, Cesar? Any questions on that?
It does. What would you say about keywords, right? Because now if we're talking about outbidding the competition, if you're strategic about what keywords you're bidding on, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have to crank it up to 1,000 plus that you're willing to pay for it. That's obviously going to be the case on the more competitive terms. But how would you say keywords plays a role in your bidding strategy?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I think the simplest way to answer that is the more competitive, aka expensive terms are expensive for a reason, right? It's a supply and demand marketplace. So more firms are bidding on those terms because they're providing the best return. It's not always the case, right? In personal injury space, you'll see some keywords that are maybe $500, and it can be difficult to make the math, if you will, on a keyword of that size. So, a big part of this obviously is working with the agency that understands search behavior, search patterns, bidding strategies, what your core services are, right? Especially in the personal injury space, you go to a PI website and they do like 50 different practice areas. Within that, there's probably inherently going to be 2 or 3 that they specialize in and they want to focus in on. So you really want to drill into those specific practice areas that have the biggest return, and then look for tangential searches, long tail searches that still have that high phone call, I want to talk to a lawyer right now intent. Now, of course, you can also go too far the other way and you can move up funnel in terms of people that are not really looking to convert. And that's another waste of kind of budget, if you will. They're more informational based searches, if you will. We want to still focus on high intent, high conversion searches. Did that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing, is being strategic about the keywords that you're bidding on, and not just blindly going in there and raising your budget for keywords that don't matter, or keywords that are inherently very competitive depending on the market that you're in. So a lot of this, I think, has to do with the market and the competition that you're playing in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay, point number 2 now is all about landing page optimization. So this does not apply to local service ads. Local service ads do not require a landing page. It's tied directly to your Google business profile that has your picture, your views, pictures, all that cute stuff. We're talking about traditional pay-per-click ads, the 2 to 4 blue listings that show up right underneath when you search. So a lot of people will build really long landing pages that have a ton of information, a million client testimonials, all about their practice areas. It's too much, right? When it comes to these searches, our data shows that people want to find a landing page and an offer that matches directly what they're searching for, and they want that information quickly. So what you want to do, first of all, is reduce the amount of content on the page. And I know that, again, might sound counterintuitive, but I promise you the data that we have shows that people don't want to scroll and scroll and scroll. They want to get the offer that matches what they're searching as quickly as possible. Keep in mind also, we'll talk a little bit more about mobile, but pretty much everyone here is searching on mobile phones. So a lot of these landing pages and agencies are building these landing pages on desktop when they're really only going to be consumed and viewed on mobile phones. So all that information is really just kind of clouding and really adding more friction to the conversion. So we want to have a couple things on these landing pages. One is speed. The website speed needs to be blazing fast, lightning fast. Again, a lot of people on their mobile phones, they might only have this searching from their car, searching from the road, wherever they are, 1 bar of service. If the page doesn't load, they're going to bounce. And guess what? You're paying for that click. And in especially the PI space, we're talking about a couple $100 per click. So we want to make sure that it loads fast, the content renders, and that the people are able to get to your offer as quickly as possible. That's a phone number and or a form on that page. The other thing that we want to do here is, well, actually, Cesar, you had a pretty good point about reviews that we'll talk about in a second, but we want to use dynamic title and H1 insertion on the landing page. That might be a little bit technical. Make sure you talk to your agency about it. There's a way to dynamically insert and change headlines based on what people are searching for. And the reason why this is important, again, is twofold. One is consistency and congruency. If somebody's looking for a DUI attorney in Miami, we want to make sure that the headline or the main text there is matching directly to that. And we can dynamically update that based on what people are searching for. So the more consistency and congruency are there, the more people are going to align, the more likely they are to convert. The other thing there is that when we have landing pages that do match and map directly to what people are searching for, it increases the quality score. Quality score is incredibly important because, especially in a space that's this competitive where people are spending a lot of money, if you do not have a good quality score on your ads, they will not show, or they will show again in the 4th place result. So if you want to get shown in the 1st place, open up your budget. And 2, you got to have a quality score of at minimum 8 or above. 9 or 10 is obviously ideal. And you do that by making sure that everything is consistent and congruent. So you had a good point. We were kind of doing the pre-call here about reviews, because Google, especially in the PI space, they're getting trickier and cracking down about what keywords they actually want to provide ads for. So why don't you tell me what you told me about reviews also on the landing page?
Yeah, it's just basically if you have reviews of clients that are using wording that is, maybe you feel uncomfortable saying, like, for example, best attorney or top attorney, or just any of these superlatives that for whatever reason, if it's for legal reasons, or if it's sourcing your best testimonials of people that are speaking about you, that are speaking about your service, the results that you got them, and making sure that those are featured on that landing page so that you're building up your credibility from the moment that someone lands on the page.
Well said. I like that. Okay, so that's 2. That's all about landing page optimization. 3 is a little bit more about ad optimization and bidding strategy. So I talked a little bit about the ad score and also the bidding strategy about cranking those up. So this kind of feeds into that. So 1, you only need to run mobile traffic. You don't need to run desktop traffic. Desktop, we've seen far less likely to convert. People tend to be, having multiple tabs open, clicking around. We want to make sure that we're getting to people in the moment of need exactly when they want. That's number 1. So you really only need to run mobile traffic. It's also ironically a little bit cheaper. 2 is making sure that all of your ads have call extensions, right? So those little kind of blue links underneath your ads, the ability to call directly without actually clicking on the landing page is huge. Make sure you have those set up. Talked about the importance of ad score. And of course, course, also what I spoke about in the beginning with turning up the ad budget. So that's setting up and optimizing the ads. There's obviously a lot that goes into it, but I don't want to bore you with all the details here. I know you got better things to do than worry about ad optimizations. So that's number 3. Number 4, again, this is going to be a little bit more technical, so bear with me. This is what we call full cycle ROAS building. ROAS means return on ad spend. So if you're just going in and setting up some basic pay-per-click ads, Google's going to optimize based on the keywords that you give it, right? And it's going to target based on the keywords that you give it, and it's going to optimize based on the click. What we really want to do though is optimize based on conversion, meaning if you have full life cycle tracking set up from click to call and landing page, tracking into a CRM, and then marking it as closed, like deal close inside of a CRM, we can actually feed that data back into Google. And the reason why that's so important is because now Google is understanding which keywords are driving clients, not keywords that are driving clicks. Now, again, this can be a little bit tricky to set up. You're definitely going to want to work with an agency to make sure you do it. We use CallRail. CallRail is a great tracking software. It allows us to see phone calls, location, all these different things, cost per phone call, these really, really good metrics. We also use it on the organic side too, because it's very powerful tracking. But this also only applies if you're spending, a minimum of $50,000 per month, if not $100,000 a month, because otherwise you're not going to get enough data of a sample size to feed back into Google and have an impact. But I promise, if you are spending $50,000 to $100,000 or more per month, you have to set this up, because this is going to dramatically cut your cost per conversion. But more importantly, it's actually going to give Google the data that it needs to understand which keywords inherently are going to be tire kickers, which ones inherently are going to close into deals, which ones inherently are going to be the type of deals that your law firm is actually looking for. So being able to set up this full lifestyle tracking is incredibly powerful. Again, it's pretty technical. You're going to have to work with an agency that actually knows what they're doing, but that is something that we do for our clients. We can definitely help you out with that. Okay, so the last one here, number 5, about improving your AdWords, making more money off of them, is all about your intake. So, if you're, again, a smaller law firm spending $10,000 or less per month on ads, using a call service is fine. It's okay. But when you're really looking at hitting scale, you really want to be able to do intake and sales in-house. The reason why that is so important, again, kind of tying back into the first one that we spoke about here in terms of if you're not first, you're last. When you get a good lead on the phone, especially in the personal injury space, car accident space, etc., you need to close them on the phone. You need to get them to sign a document on the phone. The best way to do that is to get their phone number, text them a link from a DocuSign, have them initial it, sign it right there on the call. That way you have them locked in and they're not going to call other firms. Because good leads in this space that are actually going to turn into cases, again, especially when you're working on contingency and you're not going to get paid unless they actually have a case. If you get a good lead, you cannot let it go. You cannot let them call the next ad, go down the list and keep calling people to get better offers. You got to close them. So it's really, really, really important that when we're talking about operating this at scale, we're talking about spending $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 a month on ads. If you want to not just be profitable, but extremely profitable in a time where clicks are extremely expensive, when you get a good click, you cannot let it go. You got to close them. So if you need help with any of that stuff, obviously this is something that we do on a daily basis with our clients, something that we're extremely well versed in. This is so much more than just marketing. Now we're talking about sales, we're talking about business development, we're talking about, understand the economics of running a business and how to set that up. And it's incredibly difficult to do. But again, that's why we're here. That's why we exist. So you have anything to add on that, Cesar?
No, I think the biggest takeaway is that when you're running ad campaigns, it's about being smart. We all know that the legal space tends to have higher cost per click, so it requires bigger budgets in certain areas in particular. However, there are ways of working smarter, of optimizing your campaigns. And what you touched on at the very end, I think, is really, really important, because if you're able to tell Google, these are my buyers, this is what they're searching for, this is where they're coming from, and you're able to feed that information to Google, it's going to really shoot your optimization and your conversions through the roof, because now Google has a clear understanding of who exactly it is that you want calling you. So I think that's the biggest takeaway, is just don't go into it blindly. Don't go into it just throwing money and expect results. It's all about testing, and that's something that we're very good at and that we're constantly doing. We're in campaigns every day, testing, measuring, and tweaking, and just over and over and over.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. All right. So that's all we got for this week. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next week's episode. Take care.
See you next time. Take care.